History of my oldest ancestors of whom I am very proud descend. June 11, 1384, dies Dom Álvaro Pires de Castro, my 21st and 23rd grandfather, 1st Count of Arraiolos, 1st Count of Viana, of Foz do Lima, 1st Constable of the Kingdom of Portugal, Mayor of Lisbon, German brother of Dona Inés de Castro, posthumous Queen of Portugal and great-great-grandfather of Pedro Álvares Cabral, discoverer of Brazil. Dom Álvaro Pires de Castro, 1st Count of Arraiolos, 1st Count of Viana, of Foz do Lima, and 1st Constable of Portugal, Mayor of Lisbon, was born in 1310 and died in Lisbon on June 11, 1384. He was the son of Dom Pedro Fernandes de Castro, the one of war, Lord of Lemos and Dona Oldonca Lorenzo de Valadares, paternal grandson of Fernan Ruiz de Castro, Lord of Lemos and Dona Violanta Sanchez, Lady of Usero, daughter of Sancho IV, the Brave, King of Castile, and maternal grandson of Dom Lorenzo Soares de Valadares and Dona Sancha Nunes de Chacín. Dom Álvaro Pires de Castro was the brother of Dona Inés de Castro, sons of Dom Pedro Fernandes de Castro, the one of war, and Dona Oldonca Lorenzo de Valadares, my 22nd and 24th grandparents. He married Dona Maria Ponce de Leon, my 21st and 23rd grandmother, daughter of Dom Pedro Ponce de Leon, 2nd Lord of Marchena, and Dona Beatriz de Loria, my 22nd and 24th grandparents. Dom Álvaro Pires de Castro. He was a rich man, and great lord in that time of King Dom Pedro I. He served Dom Pedro first in the wars he had with Dom Afonso IV caused by the death of his sister, Dona Inés de Castro. On March 4, 1367, Dom Fernando first donated the castle of Sils to Dom Álvaro Pires de Castro. On June 1, 1371, he became the first Count of Viana do Minho. In 1372, he became the first Count of Arraiolos. He was Count of Comenia and Aldea Galega. On December 25, 1372, he sold all the assets he owned in Portugal to Dona Maria Telles. He was the first Constable of the Kingdom of Portugal. He was Mayor of Lisbon. He was Lord of Peril, Ferreira de Aves, and other lands. The first Constable of the Kingdom of Portugal. Dom Álvaro Pires de Castro had great prestige in the kingdom, being lord of several lands, and, successively, 1st Count of Viana, of Foz do Lima, and 1st Count of Arraiolos, a title that was preserved until his death and then even passed to his son Dom Pedro de Castro, 1st Lord of Cadaval, my 20th and 22nd grandfather, but as he followed the party of Castile against Dom João I, the title passed to Dom Fernão Álvares Pereira, brother of Dom Nuno Álvares Pereira. King Dom Fernando first created this dignity in 1382, and the first Constable of the kingdom was Dom Álvaro Pires de Castro, Count of Arraiolos, Lord of Peril, Ferreira de Aves, and other lands, Mayor of Lisbon, brother of Dona Inés de Castro. The titular offices of war fall into the class of titles, and enjoy the same political nobility as those who exercise them. The most prominent is that of Constable, or Condestable, as they used to say, which is equivalent to that of a count who always has to watch alongside the king, and in matters of war he was the first person after the prince, if he was on campaign, and in its absence, the first. In King Dom Dionysius' Book of Regiments for War and Household Officers, the following is found. The Constable is the mayor of office, of greatest honor, state, that there is in the West, apart from the one, who is lord of it, because according to the general, ancient usage, of war, it belongs to him to go in the vanguard, to have its regiment. If another lord of the mayor state does not go, the governance in the mayor still belongs to him, the most signed causes, which in the East need to be done. The Constable can bring script, maces, kings of arms, and stock sheathed with the point down to war, unlike the king, who brings it unsheathed, and with the point up. He has all the preeminences of the dukes, the tall colonel, the straight and golden helmet. Take the royal stock at the entrances, and watch with it in the courts. It is up to him to elect captains, explorers, guides, scouts and watchmen. He has civil and criminal jurisdiction over all people in the army, which he is responsible for ordering and providing with everything necessary, and without his license nothing can be done. That he must provide for all the ministers and officers of war, and executors of justice, to avenge the injuries done to the knights of his army, to provide places and fortresses for people to defend themselves, preside over challenges, when they were permitted, even if the king was present, and appoint the necessary ministers, as superior judge in that act. accommodate the armies, order them to march and stand tall. He must have the keys to the city or town where the king is, etc. Dom Álvaro Pires de Castro was followed by Dom Nuno Álvares Pereira, founder of the House of Bragança, and continued the dignity of Constable in his descendants until the acclamation of Dom João IV, whose acclamation was attended by the Marquis of Ferreira, Dom Francisco de Melo, and when the three states were sworn in as Prince and Regent of the Kingdom, Infante Dom Pedro, then Dom Pedro II, was present at the solemn ceremony, with the Duke of Castro Dom Nuno Álvares Pereira de Melo. The dignity of Constable, since the time of Dom Manuel I, is a purely honorific title of the court, always held by one of the infants, who in the great solemnities accompanies the king with unsheathed stock, and places himself on his right on the throne. Weapons of the Castro of the 13 Washers. The weapons used by Dom Álvaro Pires de Castro are the old Castro weapons with 13 washers. Strangely, the representation of the coat of arms of his sister, the posthumous Queen Dona Inés de Castro, found in the tomb in the monastery of Alcobaça is that of Castro with 6 washers. Regarding the ancient weapons of the Castros that Dom Álvaro Pires de Castro used, the Lusitano Armorial says, "The weapons carried by Castros from the legitimate branch are, of gold, with 13 washers of blue, placed 3, 3, 3, 3 and 1. Tambra, a golden lion, outgoing, armed and lamped in blue. Family and descent. From the marriage of Dom Álvaro Pires de Castro with Dona Maria Ponce de Leon, my 21st and 23rd grandmother, the following were born. Dom Pedro de Castro, First Lord of Cadaval, married Dona Leonor de Menezes, my 20th and 22nd grandparents. Dona Isabel de Castro married Dom Pedro Enriquez de Castilla, Count of Trastamara. Dom Afonso de Castro, 3rd Lord of Castro Verde married Dona Maria Ramirez de Guzman. Dona Elvira de Castro married Dom Fernando Goncalves de Queiroz, my 22nd grandparents, son of Dom Goncalo Bernardo de Queiroz, 1st Count of Santo Atalim, my 23rd grandfather. Dona Beatriz de Castro, the possible Semper bride of Arraiolos, according to Professor José Hermano Saraiva, married Dom Pedro Núñez de Lara, Count of Mayorga.